Hello and welcome to the Boxing Insider. This week we need to discuss the latest with Anthony Joshua.
AJ sending me a list of Deontay Wilder, Otto Wallin, Luis Ortiz, Joe Joyce, all these people. So that's what AJ's about.
In terms of Joe Joyce, I will say this now, I've said it before and I'll always say it. He is an absolute nightmare for any heavyweight on the planet.
A happy fighter is a dangerous fighter, and if Angel Fernandez makes AJ happy and he's comfortable in the setup, then it obviously fits.
Following defeat to Alexander Usyk last year, Anthony Joshua triggered the rematch clause in an attempt to immediately win back his world titles. However, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Usyk has returned home to defend his country. So, what does that mean for AJ? Well, I put that question to his promoter, Eddie Hearn.
I spoke to Alex Krasuk this morning. I've been reluctant to get in touch with him because obviously it's a very emotional, personal time for them. But at the same time, AJ is chomping at the bit. He wants to get in the ring. And, the plan was to fight Alexander Usyk at the end of May or early June. Realistically, it would mean Usyk has to go into camp in 2 weeks' time. Is that realistic? I don't think it is. But, we've just said to them, look, let's all be honest with each other. We're doing the Usyk fight. AJ's been offered money not to do the Usyk fight. He turned that down. So we need to make sure we get in the ring with Usyk. If he needs a few more months, which I think he will, we're happy to give him that, but we want to fight on the interim. Now, my idea of an interim fight is very different to AJ's. My idea of an interim fight is a nice, straightforward night to prepare yourself for Usyk. AJ sending me a list of Deontay Wilder, Otto Wallin, Luis Ortiz, Joe Joyce, all these people. So that's what AJ's about. He's about, when you look at his resume, he doesn't take easy fights. So we'll have to see what happens with Team Usyk this week. We're going to speak again tomorrow, but we will start planning for a stadium or a big arena for end of May, early June for a potential interim fight for Anthony Joshua.
So the rematch with Usyk does seem unlikely for May or June. So does AJ take an interim fight? And if so, who? Well, Hearn mentioned Joe Joyce there. The Juggernaut has been trading words online with AJ in recent days. So what does his former coach, Adam Booth, make of that potential fight?
In terms of Joe Joyce, I will say this now, I've said it before and I'll always say it. He is an absolute nightmare for any heavyweight on the planet. If you're going to fight Joe Joyce, make sure that the risk is worth the gain, or the gain is worth the risk.
And it wouldn't necessarily be there because there wouldn't be a title on the line at that stage.
That's something you've got to consider.
talkSPORT commentator Andy Clark believes an interim fight would be a good move for AJ.
I think that would actually probably suit them quite well. But the difficulty, I think, would be in getting the right kind of opponent, because somebody I saw mention yesterday, he could have an interim fight against Joe Joyce. And I think he made a comment on him himself saying that would be a great fight. I'd take that fight. There's no point fighting Joe Joyce in preparation for fighting Alexander Usyk. I would love to see it because I'm a Joyce fan. I think what he does well, and he's going to be hard to beat. But he could not be less like Usyk. You couldn't find a fighter less like Usyk than him. The difficulty being you can't really find another fighter like Usyk. I suppose you could maybe box Ortiz. He's a tricky, technically very sound southpaw. I know people like to make hilarious jokes about how old he is, but he can still fight. You don't want to put him in a fight he's going to lose. That would be an absolute disaster. But yeah, if he needs to do that, if that's what ends up happening, then I think they should do it, because he hasn't boxed that much over the last few years.
American boxing journalist Dan Raphael knows what he wants to see next.
There's obviously a lot of different fighters that fit the bill, whether they're coming from the UK or America or other places. If you wanted to make a big mega fight and forget about fighting for world titles, I'd love to see him, try to make a deal and fight Deontay Wilder. I know that's unlikely, but to me, I understand it's not for titles, but and Deontay is supposed to be coming back sometime, originally late spring. Now it looks like it's not going to be till the summer. But here's the point though. Financially speaking, in my opinion, Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder with no titles on the line is still a bigger financial fight than his rematch with Usyk. So again, I don't think that's going to happen. That'll be up to Joshua, to his management, Freddie Cunningham and Eddie Hearn and the Matchroom folks to, if he's going to take a fight that's not going to be Usyk in the next fight, while Usyk deals with his military situation and service in his country, there'll be opportunities and guys out there. It's but they're gonna have to sit down and really figure out what he wants to do, and I'm assuming get the opinion of the new trainer also.
Aside from a next potential opponent, AJ has seemingly confirmed Angel Fernandez as his main trainer moving forward. Now, Fernandez has been part of his training setup since 2019, but what is he actually like as a coach? I asked Richard Riakporhe, the cruiserweight, who's currently being trained by the Spaniard.
Angel's very meticulous. He's unorthodox in comparison to the other British coaches, and he's very, very ambitious, obsessed, bit of obsessive about the sport, and he's always watching boxing. He's always studying and seeing what he can add. He has no ego, no pride, so anybody can come and work with us and add to us. He doesn't feel no way about that. I think he believes it's a win-win, and he's kind of influenced me to watch a lot more boxing, to study my craft, to take it more seriously, because to be honest, until probably about 2 fights ago, I never used to watch boxing. I just watch a few fights, but that's it. A bit weird, when this is your profession, but it just shows that you need the right people around you.
A young, fresh outlook, and that's maybe what AJ wants. It works. Angel Fernandez is happy enough to be humble enough to sit back, listen, watch, learn from others that are in front of him. AJ is very loyal to Robert McCracken, and he's shown that going through. I don't know what the setup will be. He's just said, look, my new coach might be an addition, is Angel Fernandez. That works, and so that works for him. I've met Angel. Angel's a nice guy. He's humble, he wants to learn, he wants to listen, and I've got a good vibe about him, but you know what, you can only go by your track record of what you produce, not who you're involved with.
Yeah, I think there'll be additions as well to that team as well. Angel Fernandez, very good trainer. It's how you gel with a fighter, and those two are gelling well. They're training well in Loughborough at the moment. I'm sure there'll be some additions as well. But AJ's in a great place, fired up and ready to go.
Last year, AJ travelled to the States to go and visit a number of different esteemed trainers, the likes of Eddie Reynoso, Virgil Hunter and Robert Garcia. And whilst Eddie Hearn seems to suggest there may be some additions to this training setup, it does seem like AJ will be based in Loughborough with Angel Fernandez as his main trainer. So, has he made the right decision at this crucial junction in his career?
The Angel Fernandez thing, it was a surprise, I've got to be honest, because like you said, he's been working with AJ for a period of time as his one down. Now, obviously, he's going up to main coach. Where does Robert McCracken fit into that? Are they swapping roles? What's happening? Don't really know, but we're being told that Angel Fernandez is the guy. We saw that AJ was working with so many different trainers over in the States. And there were a few that he was working with. I'm thinking, that would be really good. Someone like a Robert Garcia, I was looking at that and thinking, that could be quite decent, man. You know what I mean? If you can turn him into a bit of a Mikey Garcia type of fighter, I think that could be quite good. Because for me, AJ needs to let those combinations flow. And if you look at recent teachings from Angel Fernandez, and listen, he might change it up for the camps that are coming up, but the recent teachings are more concentrated on being precise with one shot. I don't think that works for AJ against Alexander Usyk when this fight happens. The combinations have to flow. But who am I to talk about this? Because Anthony Joshua has obviously worked with this guy. He's got a relationship with this guy. His team have got an understanding of how this guy works, and maybe he likes the teachings that are coming his way. He needed to change something because it didn't work the last fight, and he's made that change. You've got to trust in that change.
He's gone and seen and worked with many different coaches over the past 6 months or whatever it's been, and if that's the conclusion he's come to, then that's for a reason. He must have faith, must feel like he understands, and must feel like the quality of what he's getting and what he needs is ideal for the next step in his career. So fair play to him and fair play to Angel Fernandez.
I think Angel's a very good coach, good tactician, very technically sound. You see the way he works on fighters' technique, etc., and he lives and breathes the sport. And look, a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter, and if Angel Fernandez makes AJ happy and he's comfortable in the setup, then it obviously fits, and let's hope it works.
AJ's got to do what he believes is best for him. I think if you look at the challenges that he had early in his career and how he evolved as a fighter and how quickly he got to being world heavyweight champion, he was kind of learning on the job under the spotlight, and I've got nothing but respect for him for that, because that's not an easy thing to do, to be defending your world title and practicing something new with 10-ounce gloves for the first time. But he's kind of been doing that, and I'm sure he will whatever decision he makes, he will continue to have high level and high profile success.
So what is the latest with Anthony Joshua? Well, it does seem like he will be back in action in May or June. However, that's unlikely to be the rematch with Alexander Usyk. So it looks like we will have an interim opponent, and there will be heavyweights queuing up around the world wanting their shot and wanting that payday with AJ. However, I think his team will be cautious and calculated when it comes to working out who that next opponent will be. Now, when it comes to Angel Fernandez, he is a bit of an unknown quantity. It's a bit of a surprise for me. I thought that AJ would look to go stateside and work with somebody completely new to him. However, everybody you speak to in boxing has a high opinion of Angel. It is going to be fascinating to see how he handles the spotlight and whether he's got the tools to get AJ back to where he needs to be, becoming a 3-time heavyweight world champion. Don't forget to check out our interviews in full and let us know what you think. Who do you want to see AJ fight next? And has he got it right when it comes to his new main trainer? And you can do that by leaving a comment below. And make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our boxing content across the talkSPORT network.